Hello, Melissa Berg here. In the last video I uploaded to YouTube, it was just a little impromptu review about why I love using Autodesk Sketchbook. Today I decided to make a very simple tutorial about the basics of using Sketchbook and to show off all the features that it has. So, let's get right to it. Let me jump into Sketchbook right here. We're going to open that. Now we're going to start a brand new image. You can set anything. These are your folders of all your projects. I made a new folder called Tutorials. I'm going to hit the plus to start a new image. I'm going to do New Sketch. Okay, now as you can see, they use pixels. The last one that I did was a square one that was 5544 by 5544. We're going to change that. Make sure the little link here is unlocked because you don't want it to automatically change the height when you change the width. So we're going to go up here, delete that. Now I went to Photoshop on my computer to find out what a poster size, say 18 by 24 at 300 dpi, how many pixels would that be? And Photoshop told me it would be 5400 by, go to the height. Actually, we want to make it long. So we're going to flip these. We're going to make the height 5400. And we're going to make the width longer because of the size of our horse painting. It should be landscape instead of portrait. So that one should be 7200. There. We hit done. And then we hit create. And here we go. Now I use my fingers to pinch. If you've never used this program, I'll go into it just a little bit. Use your two fingers to pinch and change your canvas. You can turn it around, get it back to 0 here. You have over here, you have your little, I guess they call it a puck. And it's just a quick selection for color or your brush settings. And I like to push it out of the way here. Over here you have, on the right, you have your layers. You can add new layers. Delete them by clicking on the layer. If you click on it, you select it, you click it a second time, it opens up the options. I'm hitting delete. We only want one layer. At the bottom, you will see there's one layer that's always there. I'm turning it on and off right now. That is your background layer. You can change the color of that to anything you want. Now these are your palettes that are showing up in here. These are saved colors. It will have just default colors in there when you first open the program, but you can create any color and then you grab it from up here and drag it into a spot here, wherever you want to put it. Now, because this is a free program, it limits on how many colors you can have in here all at once, but you can always change them. It also has hue, saturation, and I believe that's luminosity or RGB, so you can change it around and fine-tune it, or your just regular palette. As you can see up here, there's Copic Colors, which is a brand. You maybe have heard of the markers, the Copic markers. I don't know if it's Copic or Copic. But you can change and actually use the specific colors that are also made by that brand. I don't usually use those. I just pick my own. So let's turn the background back to white. I always try to leave a black and a white in here somewhere. Here's my black here on the right, and then my white is up here on the left. Yours could be in different positions. It's wherever you choose to put it. Now over on the left we have another toolbar. We have these two sliders. That's your size of your brush and your opacity. They call it flow here. But it's also like its strength. And you start off with some very basic brushes. If you click the little top icon here, you get all the whole library, all your choices. And it even comes with some interesting shapes and patterns. Yeah, I like the glow ones too. Sketchbook has a very nice glow setup. You know, like painting with light. It's an automatic. In Photoshop, you have to change the blend settings for that layer to get that effect. What's nice about here is you can just turn it on and off. You can also grab any of these from the library. Let me find one that I might not have, and put it. You can grab it and just drag it over and put it in. See how they moved over? I'm going to put it back. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so I have two erasers in here. I have this one, which, let me darken this so you can see. So as you can see as I'm changing the size of the brush, it has a very soft edge, but it's going to delete completely. I also have the opacity or the flow all the way up. So I use that if I need to like completely erase out something, but I like the soft edge because you don't get that hard kind of cut out look. Then if I scroll down, I put another eraser right here. Now this one is a little different. I usually keep the flow kind of low, somewhere in the middle. And if I make this bigger, you can see that it has a little bit of a texture to it. It's much lighter. So that gives me, you know, when I need to go back out and erase some of my paint, it blends it in at the same time really nicely, and I can just take a little bit away without erasing all of it. Think of it as if you're used to watercolor, it's like removing some paint or adding water to it. Kind of gives you that look, which is nice. Okay. This brush is my watercolor brush. That's what it's called. What's nice about all the brushes is you can set they have their own brush type settings. So the standard, which is kind of like any digital paintbrush, thicker on the outside as your pressure lessens, it gets lighter. Marker. Now you will see that this has a texture on it, which is also something you can set. You can turn it into a smudging brush, and it'll use that texture that's already applied to it. The glow is a very nice one. It'll give it kind of a light effect. Eraser does exactly what it says. Synthetic paint, that's very much like the standard. The only thing is it runs out of paint as you draw. So let's see what color. Let me pick a new color. I'll show you. That just kind of, see how it just fades out right away? So it's like you just put some paint, charged your brush up, and that's all you got. And hit erase. Clear. So what I'm doing here is I'm hitting the layer, clicking on the layer, and then I can clear it, and that doesn't get rid of the layer, just what's on the layer. Let's see what else is cool about this. Okay, we got colorless, which I haven't really used, but I think it's just like erasing basically to the back, you know, the background or no background. And then the natural blend is my favorite. Can't see that. Let me change that. Okay, that's my favorite. It actually gives you kind of a watercolor effect. So if we now give it another bright color so you can see it, let me make it bigger. I have a texture applied to this too. So it has a really nice blend effect. Now it's changing depending on my pressure, changing the size and the opacity, which is very natural. You can also change that along the side here. And then if you actually click, let's say if we go to the hockey puck or whatever they like to call this, if you click on the brush, you also have access to all the same settings I was just in. Now you have these basic settings, which I usually just leave those. I go to advanced and I can change the pressure. Now something you will notice, if you want your light pressure to go to the smallest possible pixel, you want to make sure this goes all the way down. Something I've noticed with Sketchbook is sometimes it pops back up, it'll even equal them, and I do not like that. So you might notice it when you're drawing and decide you have to go check and set it back down. So I always leave that down so you have that nice small line when you're just lifting your brush up. The flow, I kind of do something similar, but I don't put the flow all the way down. The stamp is, if you have spacing on, you get kind of this, I guess I have this down too low. You get kind of, oh, yeah, see, you can barely even see it, but it gets kind of this jittery, turn the flow up. It gives you a jittery look. If you're familiar with Photoshop, it's very similar to all your brushes there. Most digital painting brushes all work the same. Roundness changes the shape of the brush a little bit. Oh, there, now you can see it change. I usually keep it about, yeah, probably all the way up. Rotation, that if you have a interesting texture set to the brush, you'll really notice the changes of that. It'll change the rotation and the direction that pattern is being put onto your canvas. You can change how it's controlled. Depends on how you're moving your pencil. You can change the scale of the pattern. See, sometimes you can't see it as much, so you might want to turn that up. I just leave it at 100. Your nib is where you actually choose the shape of your brush. And there are all sorts of options in here, and you can just play with all of them. As we paint or draw, I will be choosing some of these once in a while, and you will see how to do it then. I usually tell it to ignore the edge. The texture is nice. I always leave it on this one for this particular paintbrush. It's the very last choice in here. Now, one thing that you don't have in Sketchbook is you cannot load new brushes. You cannot create new brushes. You can just change the settings of the ones you already have in here. Again, here's the scale for this texture. You can invert the way the texture is, so like the lights become the darks and the darks become the lights in this image here. Sometimes that'll change the effect you're getting on the canvas. Brightness, contrast, I'm just going to leave all that because I don't want to change it, but it's all available to you to adjust. Then you also have, if you're familiar with Photoshop, you have all your blending layer options. You have the darken, the multiply, color burn, lighten. I use my favorite one that I use, actually it's not in here because you don't paint with it, it already has glow, so it's soft glow and hard glow, and they are in, if you want to change the blending mode of a layer itself, that's where you can do it. And soft glow is my favorite for adding light. Let me go in here. Let's see if we can use a brighter image so you can really see it. See how it just makes, let's turn it off so you can see the difference. It just kind of makes it pop a little bit. It's interesting, you don't really see it as much. Put it back. Glow, you can't even see it at all. Let's give it a medium background. There. I think it was the black was you know, it uses the background it's sitting on to kind of help adjust the amount of glow. See, now it's like really bright. It's very nice for painting highlights, like when light is shining on somebody's face. Really makes that pop. Okay, so we're gonna hit clear again on there. Move this out of our way. The top bar has lots of options. You have your undo and redo, your selection tools. Lasso, you can draw it, whatever shape you need. Turn that off. Square, of course. Your magic wand, you can adjust the tolerance and it'll pick more of whatever color you are tapping on, and it'll select everything in that range. You have, if you need to add or subtract to your selection, let's see, moving the selection around, I guess. It's turned off because I have nothing selected. And then inverting the selection is the second to last one. And then there, now they're chosen. So I can move the selection. If it's just not quite right, you can nudge it by hitting, it's just moving a pixel at a time so you can barely see it, or you can just do that. Grab the middle and move it around. And then you can invert selection and it'll select everything. In this case, on the outside, you can see the outline of my canvas is also selected. So it's selecting everything outside of this little circle. Okay, turn that off and deselect the selection. Then you have your movement tools, your transform tools. You can warp things with that, distort. This is again nudge. You can flip it and this will rotate it. Let's hit done because there's nothing there. We're also going to turn this back to normal. You have your paint bucket fill. You have rulers, which is really nice, and you use 2 fingers to move it around. And now if you draw with that on your canvas, it only draws there. I cannot draw anywhere else, even if I try. You have your circles, which it starts off as just an elliptical shape, but if you double tap one of these, the top one, you get an exact circle. The one on the right side is to adjust your size without moving where the center is. The one on top adjusts the ellipse shape. Double tap again to get it back to exact. Okay, turn that off. Then we have something we're not going to use today, but you can play with it, the symmetry. If I just, let's see, we'll do the one in the middle so you get an idea. That's a radial symmetry. You can adjust how many sections it has. Let's go all the way up to, let's go to 12. And when you draw inside one, it draws all of them. Oh, and look, it's only following the circle because I have that still on. Turn it off. There. See, so you can do some pretty exact things in here. It's being a little slow for some reason, but that's because I'm recording, so that's probably why. There, now we have the spider web. See, very neat. I love that, by the way. Okay, turn that off. Clear. Your draw styles, you have lines, circles, squares. This helps you, let's say you're trying to draw a nice curve. I have it set on 3, so it should fix any of my jitteriness. Oh, you can't see it. Let's turn it up. There, you can kind of see it smooth it out. If I try to draw a straight line, it straightens it up for me when you have it all the way up to 5. See, it's trying to fix my bumpy line. So that's nice for certain things. The one next to it is adding a photograph, which we're not going to do just yet. And then it gives you the option to transform it. Text box, which is, it's okay. I wouldn't use it for, too much. I've used it for like little gift cards and things like that, but you can't do a whole lot with it. At least it has it. And then the little camera icon here is to record your speed drawing. And then this one, the very last one, turns off all your palettes. So you just have, like, if you touch this little circle on the right, on the left, you can jump to your layers, your colors, and your brushes to quick choose any of those without leaving this mode. Then the little dot on the bottom, you can jump back and forth between your last brush. You can flip things. What does this do? That makes your puck go away, I guess. And yeah, color picker and erasing the background. Then you have your undos and your redos are also down here. Okay, and then you can also go back by hitting that again. Okay, so let's clear that. Let's show how to bring up a reference picture. Now, if you have a Pro, you have the option of bringing up your dock. You grab your photos. Make sure your photos are down here somewhere. Drag them over to the side until this happens. And boom, it opens your photos, and it's also opening the last photo I was looking at. So that makes it really nice to use a reference photo while you're drawing. If you don't have this option, it does give you a little bit of a problem, but it's still workable. So what you can do is you add a new layer by hitting the plus on your layers palette. You go up to the photo library icon on the very top, and then you go in and you pick the picture you want. Now you probably want to resize it, so you use 2 fingers to make it bigger. Put it somewhere where it's not going to be in your way of drawing. So probably for me, I like it on the right, top right, and put it up there. Now, one thing you don't want to do is if you hit done and you've got your picture like this, it's going to cut it off and leave it that way. So if I hit done and now I decide I need to move it, you don't have the rest of the picture. So just be aware of that. Changing the size is probably your best bet if you want to get the whole thing over there while keeping some drawing space. Okay, I'm going to hit done. We are going to delete this because we are going to use, since I have a Pro, I'm going to bring my photos to the side here. It works really nice. As far as I know, the brand new iPads, even though they have a pencil, you can use the pencil on them now, which is great, especially for students. It doesn't have the multitasking option here where you can have 2 apps open at the same time. So those are the basics of using Autodesk Sketchbook. If you would like to learn how to paint this horse with me, tap on the link and join me in a Bob Ross style paint with me tutorial, and we will go over every step of painting this horse. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching and stay creative.